Hey guys, this is Titan, and here I present you the third episode of this short city skyline series of mine in the city of Preston, the city I made for the recent City Skylines global build-off that was hosted on the official City Skylines YouTube channel. Now on the topic or on the schedule for today is the development of the cargo harbor. Whereas last episode I concentrated on the progress I made in the passenger harbor, now again we're going a bit back and start developing, or actually develop the cargo harbor. And for the cargo harbor, when it's just about the layout, I mostly followed the principles I already sort of found out and established in the passenger harbor, with the piers that are in a 90-degree angle, or in a 90-degree-ish angle toward the shore and toward the streets, and so that it can load and unload multiple ships, or more ships than if it would just be along the road, if you can follow me. So the first thing I did here was again using Feindbill's Büsing factory modules as sort of the main buildings of these piers, or of these docks. And then I used Beard Monkey's Malmö Central Station set to sort of simulate harbor, probably warehouses or storage houses or pier facility houses alongside the pier fronts. And I think this all in all gives a very authentic look of a historic harbor, whereas of course modern harbors are, I think, only container harbors, which are just, you have like the waterfront or the pier front, if that's a correct term here, and with some cranes, and then you have just basically huge areas of container loading space, or container of containers. Back in the days it was done a bit different, because there were no such things as standardized containers and standardized container sizes already. So when the ships got unloaded, the stores or the goods were maybe stored in warehouses for a short time, and which of course with individual boxes of crate or individual barrels or whatever, you can't store them the same way as containers, of course. So that is why these old harbors used to have lots and lots of warehouses, especially compared to modern harbors. And that is of course mostly, as I said in the last two episodes, is of course more or less the approach I am using here, and sort of it in general follows more the feeling I have towards historical harbors and the little research I actually put into everything here, because I had around 1 week time to develop this whole area, so of course this wasn't really enough time for an really in-depth sort of research on the topic, but I think I did a somewhat good job in making that whole harbor area look authentic. So by now here in the video, I'm almost done with sort of the general layout of the cargo harbor actually. So that general layout now is basically consisting of a few piers and docks, I suppose, that will start really decorating in just a few minutes. For now, I'm just developing this whole warehouse facilities for the reasons I basically already mentioned with with the storage of these goods that aren't in containers, so you can't like store them on huge asphalted areas like we do nowadays. And then another thing to mention, you'll see that in just a few minutes as well, is that I sort of split the whole harbor or the whole cargo harbor in two. The first sort of harbor facility that I did right at the beginning of this video was sort of the more local harbor, or those were the more local piers, so that the goods that are unloading from the ships over there are meant to go directly into the city, or maybe into the bigger area around the city. Whereas these piers I'm creating here at this very moment, these are the piers for like either heavier goods or like just for goods that are meant to go further into the country. And so what I'm doing here is like already I'm already making place for rail tracks that are gonna be here in just a few minutes. And so here I'm using procedural objects, that just amazing mod by Simon. I'm using it here to sort of adjust these mill buildings, and so that trains can go through these. Because at least to me it looked more interesting with this sort of gate building here, rather than just a hole in the building row. Continuing these pier fronts now, I'm gonna stick to the word pier front for now. I'm plopping the last warehouses here alongside the piers, which are like, to be honest, these warehouses were like the only thing I came up in terms of really detailing these pier fronts. You tell me if I actually made that realistic, but as I already told you, I didn't have that much time for researching, sadly actually, but of course it was a competition, so it makes sense that we didn't have that much time, of course. So what I'm doing now is, just as I did with the passenger harbor, I'm using these depot doors by Revo to have many entrances to the warehouse buildings, so that goods that are unloading from the ships can be carried into the warehouses through these doors, and then most likely loading onto cars, or and then transferred into the city or into the whole country. That is always the thought I'm having in mind here. And then I had the idea of just using these small metal roofs here. I'm not precisely sure, to be honest, what purpose they do there, other than maybe blocking the rain from entering the building. But I just needed something there that, just with the cranes that aren't that realistic for an American East Coast harbor, I just needed something there that makes it look more interesting in general. So this is just again a bit of artistic freedom that or artistic liberties that I took here, but I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. It's at least still authentic, I would say. If not, again, you know the drill by now. Feel free to comment on everything I do here, whether it is actually realistic and authentic, or whether everything is made up here, which I'm not hoping, at least. And just as with the passenger harbor, I'm plopping some streets alongside the piers here, primarily so cars can actually go there, and so the whole area looks more it looks actually used and not just static, if you get what I mean. So the whole area is not just like static, that everything looks nice but nothing moves, and by that it would have looked a bit odd, I suppose. And so I added these streets alongside the piers everywhere, just so that it looks more interesting. And now, as I already did most of the detailing work on the passenger harbor, I basically can copy all that over here to the cargo harbor, which saved me a good deal of time, I think. But yeah, from now all these piers basically follow the same pattern of like having the cranes there, and these bare tracks alongside the pier and underneath the cranes, just so they can move alongside the pier front, waterfront. And now I finally can add train tracks here. So as I already said a bit earlier, these train tracks are meant to be for goods that are either more heavy, or of course goods that are meant to go throughout the country once they reach the harbor here. And yeah, this is actually something that indeed is realistic for the area, and we'll with the next episode, when it's about the whole whale yard behind the cargo harbor, we're gonna dive much more into this this topic. But the thing is just that that trains or train wagons can actually stop right here underneath the cranes, so that that goods can get unloaded from the ships and loaded directly into train cars, and then can go to whatever places they are supposed to go. The tracks I'm using here are, well, basically they aren't fitting at all, because these train tracks I'm using here are railway tracks made by Revo, and they are modern high-speed tracks. But yeah, so technically they aren't fitting at all, but as these are tracks that are made or like they have no, they don't have sleepers. It's a fixed rail, a solid rail. I'm not sure what the proper technical term here. I think just the design of these tracks made very much sense to use them in this area here, because I could have either used wooden or concrete sleepers otherwise, and that would have looked a bit very out of place here. So what I did was using these high-speed tracks, while technically being, of course, completely out of place, they at least look fitting. They look fitting, yeah, that's a good way to put it. So the general design of the waterfronts is now, or of the pier fronts or the ship fronts, is now basically done. So what I'm doing now is developing the entrance area to the cargo harbor. And I had the idea, or to be honest, at the beginning I struggled quite a bit with what am I gonna do here and how am I going to do the entrance area here. But what I came up was making these parking spaces here, probably for the workers that work here, so they can park their cars and continue working. And then there is this building here. It's again from Beard Monkey's Malmö station set, and I thought that building would look very well actually, or would work very well as the sort of entrance building to that cargo harbor, so that maybe there is there's a small security office in there, or like a small checkpoint, so that trucks that come into the cargo harbor get checked whether they have the right or whether they have whether they are allowed to enter the cargo harbor. So that was my idea here. And well, we're already starting with the fine detailing of this area. So again, of course, lots and lots and lots of dirt decals. What I'm doing here now, I already did that in the last episode, but I didn't have time to talk about it. What I used here are strict toasters, do-it-yourself concrete docks. These are really great, because with these I can transform this by now static harbor into an actual functional harbor in terms of how the game works. So if we're doing something like that and creating a custom harbor, I really recommend you using these. They work, and due to their simple design you can simply hide them in your custom piers and nobody will notice anything. But they actually enabled some wheel cargo ships, or in the passenger harbor some wheel passenger ships to come into the city and to bring some goods into the city, which is like, it makes it much more interesting. So I already plopped some ships, and now placing trains. I think most of what I'm doing here is pretty much self-explanatory. I made I think 4 or 5 ships that I made with more playful details of, like, here's a ship that gets unloaded and has exotic fruits, and here's a ship that gets unloaded and has some, I don't know, general goods and boxes and whatever, just so that the whole harbor looks more alive. Even though, of course, again, it's all static, there were no cranes moving and there were no people actually unloading these ships. But just because, or just through at least using, or just through pretending these ships get unloaded, it looks much more alive and much more interesting to look at. And at the end, in the cinematics, I try to focus on these little playful details here. And I already got a few questions about the save game, and I think these questions will continue. I can, of course, give the save game either completely public or for patrons, depends on the demand towards the save game. But the big problem is that many of the ships I used here, and also some of the cars and crates and everything I used here, they are only local assets I got from creators that once they noticed what I'm doing here with that historic setting, they were so kind as to provide me with some unreleased assets like these ships, so I can't share these. So I could give you the save game, but then it would be some areas wouldn't be as detailed as they are here. So feel free to write in the comments if you're okay with that and still want it or not. Here now I had the idea of making this that ship that maybe comes from Africa or South America and brings not historic, it brings exotic fruits like melons and who knows, maybe bananas, pineapples, whatever. I think that was an interesting idea to use here, and sort of just by making this, it enables a small story that the harbor tells about, or the detailing tells about the harbor. But, well, this video actually is already coming to an end. So I thank you for watching, and there was still one more episode to go of this series, with which will be the whale yard, the big whale yard behind the cargo harbor. I thank you for watching, and if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when the next video is up. And if you want to get in touch with me or others who follow my work, if you want to do some criticism about this project, you can hop on my Discord server to get in touch with me or others to follow my work. And if you really want to support me, if you really want to support me, you can do so on Patreon and get some insight and work in progress posts, but also early access to assets and videos, just as this video has been in early access for a week. That's it from my side. Have fun in the cinematics, stay safe, stay healthy, see you in the next episode, and bye.